Last build day of the Camaro. We didn't do too much of building. I did some fixing, Alex did some fabbing, and we're ready to go dyno. I don't know exactly what numbers we're gonna pull on the dyno. I'm kind of thinking maybe a good solid like 400 to the wheel. That is my goal. Anything more, obviously, is definitely a plus. I'm gonna play it safe and say this is like a 3,000 pound car because it doesn't have a full cage in it. Obviously, there's zero interior. We don't have a very big fuel cell, but the things that do weigh still are, you know, it's a thick chassis, thick sheet metal, big, huge rear window, as well as the front window. And this glass definitely isn't thin. This has to be 1/4 inch thick glass, and glass definitely adds up in a car, but not too worried about it. 400 horsepower of the wheels should be good. The car sounds phenomenal. The steering feels great. And I got a big smile on my face because the power steering is working perfect. So I'm pumped. All right, I'm gonna put this thing on the trailer and head to CBM. While the guys are strapping the car down, getting it all ready to put on what I like to call the engine guillotine, because sometimes it doesn't go as planned, but hopefully we can get this to go as planned. This is Josh. Josh is one of the tuners over at CBM.
What's up, Josh?
So it sounds like the Holley ECU Terminator X is easy to get like just a base map tune, or just kind of like run me through the process, because I'm just a dumb fabricator. When it comes down to like tuning engines, I'm a big idiot.
No problem. No, the Holley stuff's great. I mean, like the Terminator X, especially coming with a little dash that, you know, you can just jump right on it, and they've got base maps loaded into it. But we like to go a step further and get a little more accurate timing. We can get timing how we want it, where we want it. Same thing with fuel.
Wow.
So we can clean things up on a cell. We can clean it up for power. We can just make it run cleaner. So one of the other things that is really important that we mess with in fuel injection is this little guy right here, injection end angle.
Okay.
So what this is, you know, Holley kind of comes in and sets it at -90 degrees. What you're aiming for here is when the fuel actually gets injected in during a valve event. So they've got a little generic spot. The valve is like open and halfway through its travel. So
Okay.
when you're injecting fuel, well, something with big heads, something with big cam where the air is moving really slow, doesn't work. There's nothing to mix the fuel. So you can make it really kind of blubbery, and then once air hits or airspeed picks up, it'll take off like a rocket.
Gotcha.
So one thing we can do is come through and hit backside of a hot valve, so we can go ahead and pre-evaporate the fuel so it doesn't need the air to mix it. One of the things we're going to really kind of get into on this.
Rad.
Holley has a cam calculator and everything in here that it'll kind of get you close, but it's not optimal.
So it sounds like Holley is really good at, like, you know, for a system that, for a guy that doesn't know a whole bunch, but he wants to get his street strip car kind of, you know, up and running, but like for what we do, like as far as like race car stuff, needs to go a little bit of a step further.
Right.
And
yeah, it's you can take these things so much further for reliability, especially since, you know, something like that, you're running off the O2 all the time. We don't like that.
Gotcha.
You know, if there's an O2 failure, we want to have a real tune in it, so it's just running off the tune. That way, if something does mess up, it doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
You're ready. You know, you're still driving. You're ready to rock.
Yeah. what you checking out, Josh?
Oh, just kind of finishing out the fuel table on it, and we'll go back and work on the startup a little bit because we can back calculate for cold start. But it's doing pretty good.
Nice. Liking what you're seeing?
Yeah, we're getting really close. We didn't pick up a whole bunch on that last, so I mean another 5 on it, but
Okay.
that could just be temp, that could be, whatever.
Yeah.
But, no, the timing's pretty good. It feels really good.
Nice.
Probably do a little bit more drivability.
Okay.
It warms up with a lot of load on it, so
Does it?
I'm not beating on it super hard.
Like how hot did it get up to?
Well, like with constant load, when I was going through the gears with 15-20% load or 10 or 15% load on it, it was warming up 225, 230, and I'd back out of it and it'd cool right down.
Okay.
You don't drive it around like that.
Right.
So that's a normal thing.
Okay.
So now we're just kind of finishing everything off throttle, on throttle. You saw me kind of getting on and off of it a bunch.
Right.
One thing I like is I want all my stuff to be really responsive and crisp, and there's only one way to do it, and that's to do
By
it.
actually doing it, for sure. Yeah, it's like basically you're simulating, responsiveness, but on the dyno, not in like on the road.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's, we're not just doing wide open pulls. There's too much more to it.
Gotcha. Very cool. And then I'm seeing a couple of 2 separate sets of numbers right here. So like max power and then with WCF. What is?
So that's taking air density and barometric pressure for the day and everything.
Okay.
It's just a slight correction factor. Problem is the way we have our dyno set up is for 1,500 to 2,000 horse sand rails.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of our corrections set up for that. So it might be pretty close to what we're doing with this, but it might not.
Okay.
I did scale the dyno back some, so I know we're pretty accurate with those numbers.
So like basically, so this like the top number is more of an accurate number than.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like this, we should see 15-ish% loss, something like that. And this engine realistically should be putting out, 460, 470 probably.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, out of a junkyard couple $100 engine with a small cam, you can't beat that.
Yeah, absolutely not. Oh, this is the graph, huh?
See.
So it looks like peak horsepower at 57-ish.
Yep.
And peak torque around 48-ish.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a little smaller intake on it, and low end torque would be huge.
So that's why it's got that little dip right there, huh?
We really don't have real steady airflow till we get up top.
Gotcha. All right, we got our Camaro tuned, off to the racetrack.